My elder brother sacrificed himself for the nation, and His Majesty, in his compassion for this solitary orphan, has graciously permitted me to select a suitor. One candidate is the valiant General Xia, who has fought alongside my brother on the battlefield. The other is a frivolous young lord, surrounded by an entourage of wives and concubines. As my gaze turns toward the long-admired young general, a barrage of comments fills the air. Are you still watching? General Xia harbors a cherished love in his heart. When will this mere supporting character recognize her true place? After marriage, the general hasn't even set foot in her chamber. She naively believes in his decorum, unaware that he has been entangled with his beloved in the courtyard countless times. Indeed, she will ultimately meet a fate of disgrace, ending her days in a scandalous affair with the household servants, her body riddled with sores. I paused momentarily, then resolutely turned towards the carefree young lord. This time, the comments erupted in frenzy. What the hell? He's just a damp, deranged madman, the only flaw in the entire narrative. Choose him? Are you prepared to risk your life? 1. Gazing at the barrage of comments that materialized before me, I found myself momentarily dazed, wavering in uncertainty. At the grand banquet, the sovereign had shed his imposing demeanor, directing a warm smile towards me. Young lady of the Liu family, whom do you wish to choose as your ideal consort? Beside him stood two exceptionally handsome suitors. One was a youth clad in military attire, his high ponytail emphasizing his serious demeanor, while the other, a languid and effete young noble, appeared to be afflicted with some ailment. The current emperor, in a gesture of gratitude towards the valiant soldiers who had sacrificed their lives for the nation, had graciously invited us, the families of the fallen, to the palace to receive rewards. My brother held the esteemed position of vice commander under the revered General Xia, the highest-ranking officer among the fallen. Since childhood, my brother and I had been inseparable. He enlisted when I was merely 10, and 3 years later, he was promoted to vice commander and established his own residence, bringing me to the capital. Now, with his sacrifice on the battlefield, I found myself a solitary orphan, utterly dependent and unable to find my footing in the capital. Yet, to my astonishment, the emperor had bestowed upon me the privilege of selecting a husband. Hesitantly, I glanced towards the right, fixing my gaze on General Xia, my heart already resolute. In the few days I had spent with my brother, he had often spoken of the legendary General Xia, a figure undefeated in battle and unmatched in strategy. He would describe the general as exceptionally gifted, possessing both humility and courage, embodying the demeanor of a great leader. Under such influence, although I had only seen General Xia from a distance, I felt an undeniable affinity towards him. Just as I was about to voice my choice, a sudden flurry of comments erupted in the air. No way? This cannon fodder girl intends to choose our General Xia? A powerless orphan selecting a promising young general as her primary wife. It's evident that the emperor seeks to humiliate Xiayin, fearing his accomplishments might overshadow his own. I stood there, momentarily stunned, casting a glance at Xiayin beside me. He furrowed his handsome brows, and upon noticing my gaze, quickly averted his eyes, appearing somewhat hesitant to speak. The comments continued to refresh. Still watching? General Xia harbors a beloved in his heart. When will this cannon fodder girl realize her own identity? After marriage. The young general hasn't even set foot in her chamber, yet she believes him to be modest and restrained, unaware of the countless clandestine rendezvous with his beloved in the garden. Isn't it true? She'll end up in a scandalous affair with a servant, suffering a miserable fate. I observed the increasingly outrageous comments, stepping back in fright. Despite the harsh and venomous words, they bore a semblance of truth. I had no familial support, merely the sister of a vice commander. While it was one thing for the emperor to publicly grant me a marriage, why was it specifically Xiayin and the inept young master chosen? Any sensible person would understand that Xiayin was the only logical choice. My countenance darkened, and after a brief pause, I furtively glanced at the languorous young master, Xin Chaomu, on my left. He noticed my gaze and suddenly turned, flashing a charming smile, his lips curling with amusement. So, my lady, have you made your choice? Is it me or him? His pallid complexion suggested a life depleted by indulgence, and his tone was excessively frivolous. Although Xin Chaomu held the title of young master, he was devoid of talent, notorious for frequenting brothels, and surrounded by countless concubines. Choosing between a man embroiled in infidelity and one who languishes in the company of flowers felt akin to selecting between two piles of refuse. There was no discernible difference. The comments did not allow me to ponder for too long. Alas, it appears this unfortunate girl will indeed choose Xia Yun. How exasperating. If it weren't for the General's noble disposition and reluctance to tarnish her reputation, he would never consider marrying her. After the banquet concludes, Xia Yun will surely decline her, and she'll fall into the lotus pond. A pitiful sight, how laughable. Each line of text seemed to express profound disdain towards me. Thus, I averted my previous answer, hastily moving to Shin Chamu's side before Xia Yun could speak. I find myself partial to young Master Shin. I have long heard of your exceptional talents and striking appearance. Tonight's meeting confirms you are indeed handsome. I forced a stiff smile, insincerely complimenting him, as he had little to commend beyond his looks. Xia Yun immediately fell silent, seemingly astonished by my words. Everyone around us, including the emperor above, stared at me in disbelief. The comments erupted anew. What? Surely you can't be serious? Do you truly believe Shin Chamu is deserving of your regard? While you may have dismissed one erroneous choice, you've opted for an even more perilous one. Good heavens, this is a man of dubious character. Are you willing to risk your life choosing him? Strangely enough, I think this might be a valid path. At least Shin Chamu's debauchery is crystal clear. I sensed that everyone believed I had lost my mind. How could one not choose Xia Yun and instead opt for an unprincipled young master? Only Shin Chamu maintained his smile, clapping lightly at my selection, offering me an approving expression of good taste. It seemed he was not at all surprised. I was simply fulfilling expectations by choosing him. Upon reading the comments, I realized I might have selected a man of even more exaggerated flaws, but there was no turning back now. The emperor's expression was evidently displeased. Yet having made my choice, he could not force me to select Xia Yun. With a reluctant nod, he affirmed that I had chosen a suitable husband. The wedding was set for the spring of the following year, and as it was now the winter solstice, the date loomed near. 2. As the banquet concluded, I, along with other young ladies, prepared to leave the palace. However, the empress, citing the heavy snowfall and treacherous road conditions, insisted that our group remain in the palace for the night. Naturally, Xia Yun and Shin Chamu, along with other young noblemen, were also retained. We were supposed to retire to the rear hall, yet, as I was unfamiliar with the other young ladies, no one accompanied me. Following a palace made through the lotus pond, I caught a glimpse of two figures emerging from behind the ornamental rocks, a man of imposing stature and a woman, graceful as willows. The harsh comments resurfaced once more. How exhilarating! The most thrilling scene from the original story is unfolding. The protagonist Bai Ruixin confronts Xia Yun out of jealousy, leading to their first clash, followed by Xia Yun forcefully kissing Bai Ruixin. The cannon fodder girl witnesses the scene, consumed by jealousy, schemes against the protagonist, only to find herself falling into the lotus pond, exposed to the gaze of the young masters who rescue her. Had the cannon fodder girl's brother not sacrificed himself to save Xia Yun, there would be no way Xia Yun would marry a woman of disrepute out of gratitude. This cannon fodder girl is merely deluded. With the insights gleaned from the comments, I at last unraveled the narrative. It became clear that our dynasty existed within a fictional story, and Xia Yun and Bai Ruixin were the true leads. I merely served as a stumbling block in their romantic journey, a character contrived by the author to introduce conflict and challenge. Once I fulfilled my role, a tragic demise awaited me, devoid of a peaceful end. But why should I accept this fate? In the depths of winter, was it justifiable to orchestrate my fall into the lotus pond to divert attention from their clandestine affair? In the story's design, did I possess the intellect of a fool? Frowning, I stepped forward to grasp the palace maid's arm. Excuse me, dear maid. Might there be an alternative route to the rear hall? I find this path rather slippery and fear I may fall. The palace maid, aware of my favored status with His Majesty, did not maintain any airs of formality. We cannot go back. The rear hall only has this path. All the other ladies have passed this way. We must hurry. There's nothing to fear. With that, she proceeded forward, leaving me to silently follow in her wake. As we approached the artificial mountain, the maid suddenly claimed she had forgotten something and instructed me to wait for her return. The plot was undeniably advancing. Gritting my teeth, I resolved to feign blindness, pretending I was oblivious to the unfolding drama. However, just as I took a few steps, I heard the voice of Xiayun. Rue Xin. You know my heart belongs to you. Even if the emperor were to arrange a marriage for me, my feelings would remain unwavering. By Rue Xin. On the verge of tears, replied, You speak nonsense. Today, His Majesty bestowed marriage upon the sister of General Lu. You did not seem inclined to refuse at that moment. How sincere can your feelings for me truly be? Xia Yun's tone was laden with guilt. I am sincere in my affections for you. But General Lu sacrificed himself to save me. He has but one sister, and I cannot bear to see her fall into the clutches of someone like Shen Qiaomu, a debauched scion, and suffer a tragic fate. You may deem me unworthy of you. With that, Xia Yun turned to leave. My lips twitched in irritation, and I halted my steps, ready to unleash a tirade. Good sir, I have clearly rejected you. Why then do you persist in pursuing me? How is it that choosing you is deemed a fortunate fate, while choosing another is regarded as a tragic misstep? My brother died for you. Not for you to squander your life in tormenting me, his sister. According to the commentary, Xia Yun had never treated me well in my past life. He married me but continued to dally with his beloved in the rear courtyard. Had he rejected me then, I would not have suffered such a notorious demise. In that moment, the illusions I had harbored regarding Xia Yun shattered completely, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. Bai Rue Xin was nearly swooning with anger. After stamping her feet in frustration, she tilted her head as if to collapse into the lotus pond. Xia Yun caught her, pulling her into his embrace. Witnessing the impending romantic entanglement, I felt a wave of embarrassment wash over me. Should I not facilitate their union and let the matter escalate, compelling Xia Yun to marry Bai Rue Xin and thus liberate himself from any obligation to my brother? Just as I contemplated raising my voice to attract attention, I was unexpectedly silenced by a pair of hands covering my mouth and nose from behind. I turned sharply, inhaling the delicate fragrance of orchids. Shoo! Disrupting their romantic escapade could invite divine retribution, came a flippant voice, unmistakably belonging to the notorious Shen Qiaomu. The commentary indicated that Shen Qiaomu was a brooding and reckless man. Though I did not fully grasp the implications, I understood that it was hardly a compliment. Encountering him at such an hour boded ill for my evening. True to form, Shen Qiaomu, whether intentionally or not, ensconced himself behind the artificial mountain with me in tow, making it difficult for Xia Yun and Bai Rue Xin to spot us. But Xia Yun did notice. He pushed Bai Rue Xin aside and glanced toward our direction, suspicion etched on his face. Who lurks in the shadows? He inquired. I was prepared to feign ignorance. Yet Shen Qiaomu leaned lazily against my shoulder. Ah, it's me, Shen, the young master. Am I interrupting your clandestine rendezvous? It's all my fault for appearing at such an inopportune moment. I thought to myself, must he employ proverbs when they are unnecessary? Has his education been squandered? The commentary erupted anew. Oh dear. Young Master Shen, if you cannot use proverbs correctly, perhaps you should refrain? Xia Yun is on the verge of losing his mind. You are merciless toward your rival. Isn't it normal for Shen Qiaomu to lack education? He has been wandering since childhood, living by begging. Only found by the Marquis family when he was around 10. What? Shen Qiaomu was not always a young master? He had been a waif in his youth? This plot was beginning to sound familiar. Haha, the male lead and the second male lead have met. It promises to be an exhilarating chase for the heroine's affections. Let it unfold, I'm here for it. Next, Shen Qiaomu, out of jealousy for Xia Yun and Bai Rue Xin, will deliberately create obstacles, while the naive Bai Rue Xin will misinterpret his intentions as noble. A deluded supporting character indeed. So, Shen Qiaomu was the second male lead vying for Bai Rue Xin's affections? Had he long harbored feelings for her? Was there truly no other man in the world? Must he pluck one from my vicinity? I immediately pushed Shen Qiaomu away, feeling uncomfortable. A man who covets the heroine is destined for a bitter fate. Henceforth, I decided to leave both of these nuisances for the heroine to handle. As expected, upon realizing the identity of the voice, Bai Rue Xin's expression momentarily froze before swiftly recovering. She dabbed at her non-existent tears with an embroidered handkerchief, responding in a feeble tone, Young Master Shen. Having secured a beautiful woman for yourself, do you now find leisure to mock others? My relationship with General Xia is pure. How can it be labeled as clandestine? Yet you, young master, embracing a woman at midnight, are hardly virtuous. By Rui Xian's words sounded less like reproach and more like jealousy wrapped in sarcasm. My discomfort grew, as all three seemed unwell. When would this farce conclude, allowing me to return to my slumber? The winter chill was biting. Shin Chaomu shook his finger, correcting her. While I may lack education, I am aware that I, alongside the young lady from the Liu family, have just received His Majesty's blessing for marriage. Even if we were to meet privately, it remains above board. However, you and General Xia, lacking both a marriage contract and prior acquaintance, are indeed engaging in clandestine behavior. Shin Chaomu's voice grew progressively louder as he spotted a group of young gentlemen carrying lanterns approaching our direction. It seemed he was eager to ensure everyone noticed. Bai Rui Xian grew anxious, persistently urging Xia Yun to intervene. However, Xia Yun's gaze remained fixed upon me, unwavering since he had heard of the Liu family's young lady. He stepped forward, unexpectedly seizing my hand. How can you meet with such a person in the dead of night? Do you not consider your brother who fell in battle? Before his demise, he spoke of you, his sister, wishing for your happiness. Xia Yun's tone was severe, and though he appeared youthful, his words bore the weight of experience. My wrist throbbed painfully from his grasp. General Xia, are you unwell? I am betrothed to young Master Shin by the Emperor's decree. It is legitimate. Who he is does not warrant judgment from someone like you, who is uninvolved. Xia Yun's handsome face faltered for a moment before he forced himself to speak. I understand that you are momentarily confused, blinded by superficial charms. He is not a suitable match. Should you wish to retract your acceptance, I can speak to His Majesty on your behalf to annul this engagement. Xia Yun's tone was earnest and composed. Shin Chaomu's demeanor shifted abruptly, as he languidly grasped Xia Yun's wrist with an indifferent grip. No one would believe that a man depleted by indulgence could harm a warrior even with the slightest touch. Yet I could see Xia Yun's brow furrow slightly. General Xia, I am still present, you know? Is it not prudent to consider my feelings when you speak? Xia Yun did not cast a glance at Shin Chaomu but remained fixed on me. I fought alongside your brother. He sacrificed his life to save mine. And I cannot allow you to marry a man like him. Had I not seen the commentary, I am undoubtedly inclined to regard Xia Yun as an exceedingly trustworthy individual. However, I now perceive him as someone who desires everything. General Xia, I implore you to maintain your dignity. If I choose not to select young Master Shin, does that imply that you wish for me to choose you as my husband? Xia Yun's expression stiffened momentarily before he averted his gaze in disdain. You may select anyone you wish aside from me and Shin Chaomu. I looked at Xia Yun with contempt. Until today, I genuinely believed him to be a prodigy of remarkable brilliance. It appears now that he is merely a conceited man. I have no desire to choose anyone other than Shin Chaomu. It seemed my words took him aback, or perhaps Shin Chaomu had caused him discomfort. The barrage of comments continued unabated. What the hell, has the supporting female lead taken the wrong medicine? Does she not realize who she is rejecting? That is General Xia, who she has secretly admired all along. Who knows? When I read the original novel, I did not encounter this development. Did the screenwriter alter the narrative? But the second female lead looks quite impressive. She is overshadowing the female protagonist. Please, stop arguing. General Xia, do check your hand. Your wrist has been drugged by that scoundrel Shin Chaomu. He is the type to take revenge, and he harbors malice. Xia Yun furrowed his brows and withdrew his hand, and I glanced over to find his wrist reddened and bruised. Drugged? That careless Shin Chaomu? Perhaps the comments mentioned the female protagonist. Only then did I turn to the side and observe Bai Ruixin. I noticed her transition from disdain to a serious appraisal of me. Suddenly, she lunged forward and grasped my sleeve. Miss Liu, please do not misunderstand. I did not intend to meet with General Xia privately. Do not let my association with him cause you to take offense. Before Bai Ruixin could finish her words, she stumbled and fell towards the lotus pond. Miss Liu, why did you push me? Is this the turn of the plot? Are they forcing me into the lotus pond? As I suspected, the supporting female lead is not one to easily relent. She still intends to push our precious female protagonist into the water. How wicked. Oh no, dear daughter, push her away. She is your rival. The kind that is devious. Wait, does anyone else feel like Bai Ruixin threw herself at her? Can you all stop blindly supporting your own? Has Bai Ruixin mixed up her script? Why is she adopting the persona of a scheming and innocent character? Who is the actual female protagonist? Just as the words left her mouth, she slipped and fell straight into the icy lotus pond. Almost simultaneously, both Xia Yun and Shin Chaomu reached out. Xia Yun caught Bai Ruixin's cloak, while Shin Chaomu's fan handle pressed against my lower back. Yet, Bai Ruixin was teetering on the edge, dangerously close to plunging into the pond. Witnessing her penchant for slander, I, too, decided to play the role, stepping forward and extending my hand with feigned urgency. "How could you be so careless? Quickly, grasp my hand." Though I said this, I deliberately tripped my left foot over my right, plunging forward. Bai Ruixin immediately fell into the lotus pond. Xia Yun glared at me in anger. With that, he jumped into the lotus pond to rescue Bai Ruixin. A group of young gentlemen approaching from afar arrived at the scene, beginning to gawk in astonishment. What happened? What is going on? What? Someone has fallen into the water? Was it the Liu family miss who pushed her? Could it be? Did Miss Liu, out of jealousy for Bai Ruixin's beauty, intentionally push her into the freezing water? How malicious. Although I stood at a distance, I could hear their discussions clearly. 3 remarks solidified my reputation as a scheming and malicious woman. Indeed, this is a world of narratives where bystanders need not employ their intellect, they merely need to exclaim their astonishment at the opportune moment. Meanwhile, Shin Chaomu was still leaning over to peer into the lotus pond, pulling me a few steps back with trepidation as he tapped his chest with the fan handle. "Oh dear, how carelessly you act. My fiancé, are you all right? Were you frightened? Let us stand back, lest they splash us when they resurface." I involuntarily twitched my lips in disbelief and looked at Shin Chaomu. "Are you not going to save Bai Ruixin? A hero saving a damsel in distress. This is a splendid opportunity to win Bai Ruixin's favor." Shin Chaomu cast me a peculiar glance, decisively stepping back and shaking his fan. "I cannot swim. And you are my fiancé. Why should I dive in to save another girl? Miss Liu, I assure you, I am quite devoted." He lowered his head slightly, his elongated eyes regarding me with a gentle and harmless smile. The barrage of comments erupted once more. "In the dead of winter, whose peacock is displaying its plumage? Stop fanning, lest you catch a cold." "Ha ha, Shin Chaomu is quite the rogue. What is he doing? Wasn't he supposed to embody the role of a deeply affectionate yet malicious second male lead? Why is he now flirting with a supporting female lead? A fickle-hearted scoundrel claiming to be devoted. What a laughable jest of the century." While I engaged in idle chatter with him, Bai Ruixin had already been rescued from the lotus pond by Xia Yun. They emerged resembling drenched chickens, utterly disheveled. Xia Yun, his expression frigid, carried Bai Ruixin past me, casting a fierce glare in my direction. "You truly lack the capacity for tolerance." "Me? Capacity for tolerance? What do I owe her? What is our relationship?" Xia Yun and Bai Ruixin were swept away by a throng of onlookers. Only Shin Chaomu and I remained by the lotus pond. I coughed twice, "Thank you, young Master Shin, for speaking on my behalf earlier." Shin Chaomu did not respond, merely casting me a strange glance. "So, you truly do not recall me at all? Xiaosuer? Xiaosuer?" The events of this night stirred considerable commotion. By the following day, it had spread throughout the entire imperial palace. Some busybody embellished the tale and relayed it to the empress. However, His Majesty had conferred the engagement only last night, and no one dared to disturb him. Yet, the date of my marriage to Shin Chaomu was advanced by half a month, purportedly to prevent any further complications. Each day, I found myself embroiled in the task of embroidering my wedding gown within the estate. Unmarried women are expected to embroider their own wedding attire. Although it is termed a wedding gown, it is merely a veil. My brother's residence is not grand, it is merely a modest courtyard. Once, it had some liveliness, but now it is devoid of any vitality. Thus, regardless of how one contemplates it, the title of Young Lady of the Air cannot possibly fall upon me, as our families are not well matched, unless I were the general's sister. However, my brother is merely a deputy general. Yet, Shin Chaomu, in a curious twist of fate, frequently visits my home bearing gifts. Each time, he poses peculiar questions. The once quiet courtyard has become cluttered with the items he has procured. Each time, I have coldly dismissed him, until the Lantern Festival arrived. The customs of Xingying are rather liberal. During the Lantern Festival, men and women may freely venture out. Should one encounter a suitor, they may publicly present lanterns or pouches. The long-absent barrage of comments refreshed rapidly. Is the Lantern Festival the pivotal moment for the romantic development of the male and female protagonists in the original novel? Had it not been for the scheming Miss Lusu, who attempted to ruin the female protagonist's reputation by drugging her, the female lead would have surely succeeded in fostering a connection with the male lead. Indeed, this is the moment. It is quite engaging. The malicious female character, upon learning of Xia Yun's affections for Bai Ruixin, has harbored resentment, despite Xia Yun having promised to marry her. She remains unable to rest easy and seeks to tarnish the purity of another girl. Isn't it strange? Didn't the plot change last time I checked? Isn't Xia Yun no longer Lu Su's fiancé? Will the story still progress according to the original text? Of course it will. After all, it's the original work. The venomous woman just had a moment of madness. She will soon return to the normal storyline. I silently read through the comments and turned my head, once again declining the maid's suggestion to visit the Lantern Festival. No, I won't go, I won't stroll, and I won't resort to underhanded tactics. I couldn't be bothered to play along with their plot. Just as night fell, I was about to instruct the maid to light the lanterns and continue perusing the tales I had acquired from the bookstore. Outside the courtyard wall, a figure clad in light blue gracefully leapt over. I was taken aback by the sudden movement. The individual seemed to sense my gaze, turning to look at me, his handsome features momentarily frozen. What a coincidence, Miss Lu. Are you out to admire the moon as well? Your Highness, your interests are indeed diverse. Climbing over walls at midnight seems to be a skill you've mastered. Shen Qiaomu's movements immediately slowed as he clumsily slid down from the wall. No. This is my first time climbing a wall. The comments flooded in again. Ha ha, Shen Qiaomu was caught sneaking over to see his wife in the middle of the night. How scandalous. He's still pretending. He must not know his wife has already discovered him. A master of acting. This scheming Shen Qiaomu clearly intends to disrupt Xia Yun and Bai Ruixin's date by luring the female supporting character away. The comments had unveiled all the plot twists, and thus I was aware of Shen Qiaomu's intentions. Indeed, even if I remained indoors, the main storyline would compel me to participate. Without waiting for him to speak, I donned a fox fur coat and followed him outside. Let's go, Lord Shen. Whatever mischief you plan to cause, I shall accompany you. Shen Qiaomu's body stiffened momentarily before he quickly lowered his head, flashing me a smile. The grin was both frivolous and innocent. Xiao Suer, how obedient you are. I adore your personality. I have all sorts of women in my backyard, and you are just the type I need. I cast him a cold glance. Yet Shen Qiaomu remained oblivious to how thoroughly the comments had exposed him. Isn't Shen Qiaomu the most pretentious? What does he have in his backyard? Just a pile of martial arts weapons, yet he claims to have a harem of beautiful concubines. It's utterly laughable. Who can argue with that? Regardless, if it pleases him, so be it. For some reason, I think the female supporting character and Shen Qiaomu are quite compatible. I refuse to endorse any pairings. Haven't you read enough romantic literature? The second male lead undoubtedly belongs to the female protagonist. His body and soul must be devoted to her. Moreover, Shen Qiaomu is hardly a virtuous gentleman. Last time, he poisoned Xia Yun at the Lotus Pond. A common person would need to lose a hand to save themselves, but fortunately, the male lead's residence has a divine physician. Speaking of that incident, he also poisoned at the Lotus Pond. I've heard Bai Ruixin suffered from a rotten face for half a month and couldn't even speak due to the swelling. Incredible. Whose second male lead is he? To poison the one he loves? I was equally stunned to learn of these revelations through the comments. Could it be that Shen Qiaomu was a master of poison? I could understand poisoning a rival, but why would he poison the one he cherished? On the bustling streets of Xinjiang, lanterns adorned every corner, and the air was filled with lively chatter. I discreetly observed Shen Qiaomu. This winter, he had forsaken his folding fan and held a small warming stove, offering it to me with apparent reluctance. This is my favorite warming pot. It's now yours, Xiao Suer. I remained silent, tucking it into my sleeve. It still bore traces of his warmth, accompanied by a hint of woody fragrance. Just as I was about to speak, he suddenly grasped my wrist, leaning in close to whisper in my ear with his clear, youthful voice. Xiao Suer, you've been lost in thought. Is it because once the Lantern Festival is over, our family will send out the betrothal gifts? Do you wish to reconsider? I frowned and shook my head. It mattered not whom I married. Whether it was Xia Yun or Shen Qiaomu, it was all orchestrated by the plot. However, recalling how my brother would craft a lantern for me in previous years brought a pang of sorrow. This year, my brother had passed away. I was left with no family in this world, even if we were merely characters in a tale. Yet, I didn't dwell on my melancholy for long, as I spotted a familiar face stumbling into an inn inebriated. Wasn't that one of my brother's comrades from before? I recalled he wasn't listed among the fallen soldiers. Could it be that he had survived? A possibility struck me, and I instinctively hurried after him, only to realize he had entered a brothel. Upon entering, he ascended to the second floor, head bowed, a still-healing scar etched on his face. He appeared not to seek pleasure but vengeance. As his sleeve brushed against something, I glimpsed a glint of steel. Was he planning to kill someone? A soldier presumed dead on the battlefield suddenly returning to the capital, unknown to anyone. Now armed and entering a brothel. Who was he aiming to assassinate? I instinctively sought the comments for guidance, but as I turned, I bumped into a solid chest. You? Young lady, what brings you to such a place? The young general with a high ponytail furrowed his brow, his expression stern as he reprimanded me. It was none other than the absurdly confident General Xia. I turned my head and indeed spotted Bai Ruixin behind him, dressed in male attire. She made no effort to conceal her neck, flaunting her prominent ear piercings, and even avoided binding her chest. It was as if she were wearing a sign that read, "I am a woman disguised as a man." I scoffed. Why is it acceptable for Miss Bai and General Xia to be here, yet I cannot? Is my life so worthless that I am barred from entering a brothel? Xia Yun's face darkened with indignation. I am not like Ruixin. She is merely curious about the food here and wants me to show her. Before I could retort, Shin Chaomu sidled up, mischievously batting his eyelashes. Oh, let's spread the word that General Xia brought a beauty to the brothel purely for a meal, not for any illicit activities. Xiao Suer, do you think I should use this excuse next time I visit a brothel and see if you would believe me? Shin Chaomu's words rendered Xia Yun's face an ominous shade of green, leaving him at a loss for a comeback, merely raising an eyebrow in fury as he glared at me. To be honest, I found Xia Yun's possessiveness to be utterly perplexing. Why did he feel such a strong claim over me? He acted as if he were my father. Before Xia Yun could speak, Bai Ruixin innocently suggested we head to a private room on the second floor to chat. Standing in the hall wasn't suitable. I understood this was leading to the plot's climax. If memory served me right, I was to slip Bai Ruixin a love potion to facilitate her romance with Xia Yun. I was reluctant to stir up trouble, so I agreed. Regardless, I needed to distance myself from these two and find my brother's comrade to uncover the truth. If he had returned alive, perhaps my brother had not perished either. The four of us exchanged glances as we entered the private room. The design of the brothel's room was quite unique, featuring a massive wooden bed that could easily accommodate 10 people. The matron cast us a suggestive look. Please, enjoy your conversation. No one will disturb you. Bai Ruixin blushed shyly, tugging at Xia Yun's sleeve. Shin Jiaomu leaned closer to me, even bending down to rest his chin on my shoulder. Xiao Suer, who would have thought you enjoyed such wild antics? I coughed twice, using the pretense of needing to relieve myself to slip away. The barrage of comments followed me like a shadow. As expected, the venomous woman intends to drug our precious daughter, deliberately summoning Shin Jiaomu to conspire with her, aiming to consummate their scheme and secure the position of the future princess for her daughter. See, Xia Yun has followed her out too. What kind of beguiling tricks has Lu Su employed to entice the young general? Young general, don't leave. Soon Bai Ruixin will consume the aphrodisiac, and only you can antidote her. If you leave, she will fall prey to the second male lead. I glanced suspiciously at the comments. Why was there no mention of that suspicious soldier? As my brother's comrade, he must also be a subordinate of Xia Yun. Why did they not mention him at all? Could it be that they only perceived the interactions between the protagonists? I hesitated at the door for a moment, intending to lean in and eavesdrop on the commotion in the adjacent room, only to discover that I had somehow acquired a packet of powdered medicine and a jug of liquor. What was this? An attempt to force me to poison someone? Resigned, I twisted open the lid, unfurling the powder packet to prepare the drug. Just then, I was seized from behind. Turning, I found it was indeed Xia Yun. What did this father figure want again? His brow furrowed as he stared at the powder in my hand, his expression one of barely contained fury. As I suspected. You remain as incorrigible as in your past life, still intent on drugging Ruixin. Lu Su, must you eternally entangle yourself with me? This left not only the barrage of comments stunned, but I too was bewildered. Had he lost his mind? Are you ill? Go seek a physician for medication and do not delay me. I attempted to shake off his grip, yet he clung to me tenaciously. when His Majesty betrothed us. I knew you had purposely chosen Shinjamu. I thought you had finally learned from your past, but it seems your cunning has only deepened. Do you think that by tarnishing Ruixin's reputation, I would marry you? I certainly will not. How could Lu Chang have such a wicked sister as you? You have sullied his name. What the hell is the young general reborn? The original script did not depict this. Damn, is this a rebirth romance? Lost life. Due to the second female lead's incessant schemes, he was unable to openly be with Bai Ruixin, who could only be taken in as a concubine after Lu Su's demise. Thank goodness it's Xia Yun who has been reborn. This time he can love his wife openly and be together without the scheming of this malicious female antagonist. For heaven's sake, could you all exercise a bit of restraint? I rolled my eyes in exasperation, about to clarify. Regardless of whether you have been reborn or resurrected, let me make this clear, I have no interest in you neither in the past, nor in this life, nor in the next. Before I could finish, the door was suddenly flung open, causing the medicine in my hand to scatter into the air. Ironically, Xia Yun inhaled most of it, while Xin Zhaomu caught only a fraction. Soon, Xia Yun's face flushed crimson, fine beads of sweat appearing on his forehead. Xin Zhaomu fared slightly better, but was also affected by the aphrodisiac. He immediately leaned close to my ear, resembling a man stricken with fever. Xiao Suer, push me away quickly. It's fine, although my body is heated and I wish to be close to you, I can restrain myself. Unlike some hypocritical scoundrel whose eyes seem to undress you. Shameful, disgusting, I detest him. Meanwhile, Xia Yun kept his distance, nearly turning away in frustration upon hearing this. He staggered back into the room. I understood he was going to find Bai Ruixin, and I made no effort to stop him. Just then, I noticed a crack forming in the door next door. A sharp gaze peered through. It was that soldier. Was his target Xia Yun? My heart sank. I kicked Xin Zhaomu into the room and swiftly locked the door behind me. Let these three handle their own affairs. I failed to notice that before closing, Xin Zhaomu's expression shifted to one of momentary astonishment, laced with a hint of mockery. I kicked open the door to the adjacent room. A glint of cold steel swiftly lunged toward me, but halted upon recognizing my face. Lu family girl? Is it you? What brings you here? The scar-faced soldier looked at me astonished. I frowned, scrutinizing him for a long moment before speaking. Brother Ding, that question should be directed at you. The soldier immediately seemed to lose all his strength, collapsing to his knees before me. Lu family girl, it is my failure for not bringing Brother Lu back. But it's fine. Once I take down that brat Xia Yun, I can rest easy and join Brother Lu. My expression darkened as I inquired about his meaning. Finally, he opened up. He had indeed crawled out from a pile of corpses, fortunate to be alive. He and my brother belonged to the vanguard in the army. On that day, my brother had received military orders from Xia Yun. As a vanguard, he followed him to break through from the border gorge. My brother had tried to dissuade him several times to no avail. However, midway through the march, Xia Yun abruptly changed his mind and ordered a retreat. Yet it was too late. The enemy had surrounded the gorge. To buy time for the main army's escape, my brother bravely led a small team to confront the enemy, drawing them into a more perilous position. Xia Yun, fully aware that those soldiers and my brother were sacrificing themselves for the larger force's retreat, brazenly commanded that boulders be pushed down from the gorge, burying both the enemy and my brother's men in the ravine. Afterward, Xia Yun returned victoriously to the capital, while those soldiers remained entombed in the gorge, unable to return home. The scar-faced soldier's expression was cold. Clearly, it was his command error that cost the lives of our brothers. Yet the military report states he was the first to detect the enemy's scheme and thwart their plot. What of Brother Lu and the other sacrifices? They could have all retreated together and survived. Xia Yun is unworthy of being a general. After bidding farewell to the scar-faced soldier, I closed the door to the adjacent room. Silently, I pushed open the compartment where Xia Yun and Xin Zhaomu were. Upon entering, I discovered that Bai Ruixin was not in the room. At that moment, Xia Yun's face was flushed, his fists clenched tightly, glaring at me in outrage. I turned to question Xin Zhaomu. He shrugged innocently. Don't look at me as an unmarried man. It wouldn't be proper for me to be in the same room with Miss Bai. What if others misinterpret our relationship? So, I simply knocked her out and sent her to the next room. With that, he deliberately swaggered in front of Xia Yun. Young General Xia, this aphrodisiac is quite potent. Why not go next door to find Miss Bai? Or should I have the madam of this establishment arrange something for you? Xia Yun swatted his hand away, instinctively loosening his color. He licked his cracked lips unconsciously, gazing at me with a heated intensity, as if to say I should keep my distance and not touch him. Lu Su, I will not allow you to have your way. Do not think you can lay a finger on me. Shen Jiamu stepped in front of me, revealing his unparalleled beauty, mockingly gazing at Xia Yun. Do not flatter yourself. Our Xiao Suer will only be here to antidote me. You are nothing. ISNT that right? Xiao Suer? Back in the palace, did you not praise my looks? To be honest, at this moment, Shen Jiamu was indeed exceptionally alluring. His lustrous lips and sultry eyes gazed at me with a tenderness that could enchant any woman. I reached out to caress his cheek. He was quite obedient, a tall figure bending down to nuzzle my hand, seeking my touch. His demeanor was as endearing as that of a devoted raccoon. Xiao Suer, will you choose me or him? I sighed, then pushed him away. Shen Jiamu, step outside and close the door for me. In that instant, I noticed a shift in Shen Jiamu's eyes. The languid expression vanished, replaced by a chilling intensity. His tone grew near menacing. Could you repeat that? I reiterated, go out. Close the door and ensure we are not disturbed. Shen Jiamu suddenly chuckled. He staggered to his feet, repeatedly uttering a casual acknowledgement, and without a backward glance, exited, slamming the door with a resounding thud. The comments flooded in. What is happening? I feel a pang of sympathy for Shen Jiamu. His fiancée is sending him away to sleep with another man? It seems this wicked second female lead still harbors feelings for Xia Yun, truly a love-struck fool. How pathetic is she to seek affection from a man who does not love her? I can't shake the feeling that Lu Su's expression is off. Have you all forgotten that Shen Jiamu is no ordinary man? The truth is revealed. Shen Jiamu is indeed not to be trifled with. He had already administered a potion to render Xia Yun impotent before the female lead entered the room. Even if they are honest with each other, they can only stare blankly. He is full of cunning, leaving so decisively. I retrieved a dagger from my sleeve, crouching down to approach the incapacitated Xia Yun. At that moment, his gaze was unfocused, yet it held a hint of warmth as he looked at me. He had evidently overheard my exchange with Shen Jiamu. Uneasily, he spoke. Even if you cure me today, I could never love you. As soon as the words left his lips, I plunged the dagger into his groin. He screamed, instinctively clutching his lower body, his face a mask of pain and terror as he stared at me. I merely smiled softly. To be honest, after seeing those comments, I had long wished to do this. The so-called gratitude of marrying me, only to sneak around with the one you truly love in the backyard? A man like you is repulsive, even in his second life, daring to act but not to follow through. Moreover, you caused the death of my brother, my only kin. Xia Yun, you are the one who truly deserves death, are you not? I stabbed him again in the thigh, a total of 3 blows, leaving me drenched in blood. Xia Yun succumbed to the pain and fainted. I wiped the dagger clean, finally calming down from the thrill of vengeance, oblivious to the comments still rolling in. I contemplated escaping through the window. Soon, someone would arrive, and I would undoubtedly be caught, which was also why I did not wish to involve Shen Jiamu. As I opened the window, I locked eyes with a man outside. His large eyes met mine in a moment of awkwardness. Are you really going to run like this? No cleanup? Attacking General Xia, do you not value your life? I fell silent for a moment, but he suddenly chuckled. Just call me Xianggong in advance, and I'll assist you. Hey, if you don't want to call, that's fine, no need for the cold face. I told you. You wouldn't do anything wrong, just watch me. Shen Jiamu somehow managed to carry the unconscious Bai Ruixin and tossed her into the arms of the fainted Xia Yun. He took the dagger from my hand and placed it in Bai Ruixin's grasp. Seemingly dissatisfied, he tugged at Bai Ruixin's clothing. Then he suddenly shouted outside, "Quick, someone! General Xia is assaulting a woman. Someone is going to die." After shouting that, he wrapped his arm around my waist and led me out of the room. He moved with surprising agility, unlike his usual fragile demeanor, and only relaxed once he delivered me back to the courtyard. I, however, found it peculiar and asked, "Why do you not inquire why I attempted to assassinate Xia Yun?" Shen Jiamu paused. "For your brother? Apologies, when you entered the adjacent room, I eavesdropped. After all, the dosage I received was minimal. Rest assured, Xia Yun will not reveal it was you when he awakens tomorrow." I queried suspiciously why. He laughed, To be rendered impotent by a woman? How humiliating to admit. However, I observed that you've disabled the meridians in his thigh. He will never practice martial arts again and won't trouble you, as long as you become my noble consort," Shinjiamu stated nonchalantly. I felt a surge of guilt. It seemed that Shinjiamu had always been aiding me. Why do you choose to help me? Why be so kind? Shinjiamu glanced at me, leaning in with a playful air. What can I say? You are the first woman to praise my talents and good looks. It truly stirs my heart. I retorted. Do you possess talent? Do you not find me insincere? Shinjiamu shook his head yet appeared unsteady, leaning against me. Oh dear, Xiaosuer. I too have succumbed to the aphrodisiac. It seems to be taking effect, and I cannot control myself. Would you help me? He purred suggestively. All right, little trickster. He looked surprised at my address. I raised my hand and delivered a swift blow to the nape of his neck. His eyes narrowed, and he collapsed. This was quite convenient. Once he was completely unconscious, I cautiously pulled aside his clothing, revealing the pale skin of his neck, adorned with a vivid red cinnabar mole. It was indeed him. Memories flooded back. When my brother and I arrived in Xinjing, he was 15, and I was just over 10. Our family had perished in a famine, and we had relied solely on each other to escape to Xinjing. During our journey, we encountered a ragged little beggar, his body covered in sores. The little beggar, weak and with damp eyes, stared longingly at the half-piece of bread in my hand. I thought he intended to rob me, but he dispassionately turned away, solemnly informing me that if a person consumed offerings, they would be covered in sores. He had fallen into such a state because he had inadvertently eaten an offering. Indeed, my half-piece of bread was a sacrificial offering from a dilapidated temple. Terrified, I dropped the bread, and he swiftly picked it up to eat. I trembled with rage, cursing him as a little trickster. The little trickster was clever and smooth-tongued. My brother, feeling pity, took him along with us. The little trickster claimed he was the lost young master of a wealthy family and promised to reward my brother and me handsomely once he was reunited with his family. I asked how he would prove it. Would it require blood to identify? He snorted, saying he had a special cinnabar mole on the back of his neck, which would suffice for identification. The little trickster explained that all his sores were the result of being sold by a malicious servant to a pharmacist as a poison tester. After enduring countless hardships, we finally reached Xinjing. I fell gravely ill but lacked the funds for treatment. My brother had no choice but to enlist in the army, leaving me 2 taels of silver. The little trickster promised to earn money for me but never returned. My brother said the little trickster would not come back. He had angered a noble in the capital and was beaten to death. I was told to forget about him. Thus, the little trickster must have found his family and become a prestigious young master. But why, if he wished to sever ties with my brother and me? Was he now entangled with us? I gazed at his slumbering handsome face, lost in thought. His sores had healed. No wonder he was so fond of using poison. The conclusion, the incident concerning Xia Yun's assassination stirred no commotion. Instead, news swiftly spread regarding the betrothal of Xia Yun and the Bai family, even more hurriedly than my impending marriage to Shinjiamu. It was rumored that someone had witnessed Xia Yun committing an indecent act against a young lady of the Bai family, thereby tarnishing her reputation, leaving him no choice but to marry her. Additionally, there were whispers that during her struggle, the Bai maiden had inadvertently injured the young General Xia's manhood, rendering him incapable of fulfilling his marital duties, and thus he was compelled to wed her as a form of compensation. Following their union, it was said that they quarreled incessantly. Xia Yun became increasingly capricious, treating Bai Rui Xian with disdain and verbal abuse. While Bai Rui Xian proved to be no meek character herself, within a month of marriage, she demanded a divorce. However, the emperor and Xia Yun's family vehemently opposed her request. Subsequently, rumors began to circulate in the capital that Bai Rui Xian was having an affair with a household servant, which Xia Yun discovered in a compromising position, inciting such fury within him that he nearly choked her to death. Beyond that, I am unaware of what transpired, for this tale's conclusion feels eerily familiar. This should have been my fate in a past life, yet unexpectedly, it has now befallen Bai Rui Xian. Xia Yun married the one he longed for, only to find himself in discontent. It serves him right, such a person deserves no less. As my wedding date with Shinjiamu approached, he increasingly frequented my home, often climbing over the courtyard wall. At times, he would bring intriguing and rare trinkets. Other times, he presented an array of bizarre weapons and poisons. He claimed to have administered a potion to Xinjiaomu, ensuring he would never dare to trouble me again. Well aware of his character, I remained silent, fearful of provoking him and becoming the subject of some peculiar concoction myself. Until the day of our wedding, he unveiled my bridal gown, drew closer, grasped my hand, and gently pressed his lips to mine. This time, there was no concealing the overwhelming desire and madness that consumed him. Xiaosu, ever since I fainted that day, you have refused to speak with me. Why? Do you despise me? I fixed him with a cold glare. What do you think, little liar? You promised to return to me. Even if you have successfully claimed your kin, you should at least have informed me and my brother, shouldn't you? Xinjiaomu's face flushed a deep crimson. You remember. I did come to find you. But you were no longer at that dilapidated temple on the outskirts of the city. At that time, I had been afflicted with various poisons, and my family sought the help of a divine doctor to heal me. I lay bedridden for an entire year before recovering. In this vast capital city, I believed you both had departed until that day in the Great Hall when I heard your brother's name. I am truly sorry it took me so long to find you. Xinjiaomu's eyes brimmed with genuine remorse. Finally, I felt a sense of relief wash over me as I reached out to delicately trace the contours of his features. After 8 years, the little trickster had grown into such a handsome man. He held my hand, his gaze earnest and imploring. From now on, you shall not allow any man to close the door on you. Xiaosu, you can only be mine. For having praised my beauty, you must take responsibility for having stirred my heart. I am capable of committing a lifetime of misdeeds for you, tormenting Xia Yun and Bai Rui Xian until their lives are rendered unbearable. I turned my head to the comments floating in the air. Whoa. My domineering husband possesses an overwhelming possessiveness. I'm utterly enamored. This pair is delightful. Who says the lives of side characters lack excitement? I find these two quite compelling. Hurry up and light the lanterns. Can I pay to watch? Stop dawdling. I smiled, leaned in, and kissed the corner of Xinjiaomu's mouth. Xinjiaomu, in the days to come, my heart shall forever be yours. The end of the tale. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again in the next story.